Welcome everyone to the showdown between the Greenskins, who shall be led by Wurzog, and he is going to be on his dancing pig. And today, my friends, we face off against the Drowned, who shall be led by King of the Dead, coming in with a very ghostly build. So you can see here a ghastly, ghostly, spooky, whatever you'd like to say. He is going to be using a Damned Paladin, Shade Wraith Gunners, a ton of Sirens. Now, that's actually kind of hard for the Greenskins. Greenskins do have a couple sources of magic damage, but back in the day, before Fist of Gork, didn't actually imbue magic damage. Like, Greenskins had very, very few ways to deal with ghostly rushes. Now we do have a couple options, of course. The Greenskins have missile attacks coming in with Wurzog, as well as the Goblin Shaman here. And of course, Fist of Gork can imbue magic damage. So there's a couple options, but it's still very spooky and hard to deal with. Now, a couple goblins in the front. Secondary line is going to be Biggins. I wasn't sure if he's going to have like Mourngulls, and Biggins are a well-rounded answer against both Chaff as well as some of the bigger threats. A big Daka line as well. It's going to be 4 archers, including Rusty Arrows, or 5 archers. We do, of course, have the dual caster with Wurzog as well as the Night Goblin Shaman. 2 Spider Riders on the flanks to deal with skirmishing and harass the back line. And also 2 Wolf Riders, again, just to be able to peel Fellbats, go after backline tools, just give me something to kind of move around with. Now, also, we're going to be experimenting. I don't normally do this, but again, King and I were just doing practice games and having some fun. I'm going to be using triple Rock Clobber. So I want to see how they do against not only gun lines, but also against some big armored targets. I've seen them actually do surprisingly well against Ushapti Great Bows. So just giving them a whirl. It's kind of like the Haggard Bretonnian Trebuchets in that same vein. So we'll see how it goes. So the battle's underway here. King with his Siren Rush, and totally has 4 Sirens, Celostra, the Damn Paladin. Lore of the Deep coming in hard. Going to be very fun to see that, and also the Shade Wraith Gunner. So yeah, it's going to be a absolute slobber knocker, as they say. So using the Goblin Rock Clobbers to go after the Shade Wraith Gunners, initially thinking that just the sheer volume of fire would be able to tear him down, and honestly, it's taken out the check-in mobs back here pretty well. So not going to complain. Now, Celostra does lead the charge here. Shade Wraith Gunners are going after my Rusty Arrows, which is a good choice. And I realized pretty quickly, I don't have a lot of mass here, so it's going to be tough to kind of halt the advance. And Shade Wraith Gunners, a little bit of friendly fire into Celostra. Never hurt anybody, so going after Celostra is certainly not bad. Goblins have engaged in the front line. My little Goblin Shaman, I totally forgot about him. He's just going to be standing there and watching in awe. Now he'll be going after the Fellbats, trying to help out and peel off these guys. And the Damn Knights Errant, that's another thing that's really good. Like a free summon unit that does pretty good shock damage and it's charged and does also cause terror is really, really powerful against Greenskins. So he's going to be getting into the back here, also summoning some crabs. So here you can see the Rotting Prometheans have been summoned as well. I have Biggins and other things, but a lot of summons coming out of this very spooky build so far. And our Goblin Rock Clobber has done okay damage. We've been able to put the Shade Wraith Gunners down to about half health, which is nice, but they're still pretty operational. Now in the back, he has attacked with some Fellbats, and I was able to get my Spider Riders and my Wolf Riders to peel them off, which is exactly what I wanted. But the Blitz is still coming in strong. You can see the Damned Knight Errant doing its thing. He does have the Damned Paladin here. The Biggins, of course, are afflicted by the Fog of the Damned, and their melee attack is actually 0 right now, which is pretty awesome for him. Spider Riders are being used to kind of hold things back. Obviously, my Daka line is being pressured from many summons and many angles. So basically, we're falling back in a couple different directions and just hoping the Rock Clobbers can continue. But the issue being is that my center mass is very, very broken up. You can see that the Sirens coming through with the Terror Routes is very, very nasty against my troops, which do not have immunity to Psych. Here's some more Air Boys. We're shooting, but they're going to be falling back now. Shade Wraith Gunner still just blasting into my forces here. And he was able to goon out my Goblin Shaman, which is pretty unfortunate. But he was only like 300 gold, so it's really not a big deal. Wurzog here is going to be lining up his shots here. He does, of course, have the Gaze and Mork, and we pop a very delayed Wah, which, again, I forgot about for most of the battle. The Spooky Ghost, were my ultimate problem there, but it's still effective. We have a lot of units fighting, all across the map, so really it's not, I don't know if it would be just as effective, but it's still pretty good here. Now, Wurzog is going to be going in here. We do, of course, have Brain Buster, which we've been trying to use on Sirens this entire game, but we're trying to push through, if I'm not mistaken, and get a missile attack here on that Damned Paladin. As my Trebuchets continue to fire, in the back, the Shade Wraith Gunners have been able to really mitigate a lot of that. And here I use the Wolf Riders as a tar pit. Not the best situation, but they are holding back in advance and buying some time for my archers to kind of scramble. In the meantime, those Sirens are pushing onto the Hammer of Gork, which is really unfortunate. We do use Effigy plus a missile attack, and we just absolutely nuke that Paladin right there. So that's what we needed. Should have done it earlier, but he was hiding the Paladin pretty well. And a Brain Buster is going to be going down as well. I forget where we did it, but I think it was back here. We really nuked those guys, and a Tide Call coming in, which doesn't do a whole lot, but it does slow. So the Brain Buster has been pretty effective here against the Sirens so far. And the Fists of Gork have been good, but what happened actually a couple times is here comes the pig fight. The pig is going for the Paladin. He's actually crumbling, so Wurzog should be able to win this duel. I always thought Wurzog did magic damage, but he actually doesn't in melee combat. That was one of the reasons I picked him. I was like, oh, he'll do magic damage here, but Azag probably would have been a little bit stronger against all these ghostly units like Buna and Spirit Leech, but nonetheless, Shade Wraith Gunners here causing some problems. You can see the Sirens in the back are crumbling down, being surrounded by the Goblin Wolf Riders, who I did give Fist of Gork to. They're able to do a ton of damage, but it looks like that this kept happening. Like, I would get terror routed or just broken, just a natural break, because they cause fear and terror, of course. So yeah, I wasn't able to really maximize on my value there. But nonetheless, Cyrene should go down to the pressure from the Spider Riders. And Warzog's being hunted by a giant crab now, so Bouncepire is crab favored. Ghost favored. The Drowned favored. Song of Enthrallment is slowing me down, so Warzog apparently is enthralled by Soloster's lovely singing voice. We're going to be trying to get back now. Some Syrenes are coming in once again. Those Syrenes were finished off here, so we're able to peel in. Even though the Bouncepire is in the favor of Coast a little bit, we still have a lot of tools here to scrap with. We have archers all over the map. In the back, we can't get those damned Shade Wraith Gunners. They've been able to really push off anything I send, and their discourage ability very, very strong. So we get some Spider Riders to go after Solostra. The Rock Lobbers are going to be turning about face and going after Solostra as well, and we're trying to get these Syrenes. They're very, very tough to break, of course, for the Greenskins. And I believe Fist of Gork was on cooldown right now, so I couldn't use it. And the summon crabs are gone. So as his summons start to disappear, you can see the Bouncepire does kind of ebb back towards the middle. It's still a close fight. I would say favored for him for sure. Solostra is very tough to kill for the Greenskins as is. We actually saw this in the Faction War, where we had a Chosen of the Norns using the double crab builds against all the missile builds, and it's very, very tough to bring down. Thankfully for me, there's only one. A little bit of a tide call going down back there, which might break off my Greenskin archers who are danger close to the edge of the map, but basically, I'm going to be trying to get this way and escape that situation. We have some biggins coming back in the distance who are going to be going after the Shade Wraith Gunners who are, man, it's so cool to see these like unused units actually do pretty well here. And they're going to be shooting in. The Rock Lobber is a bit of a wild experiment that I don't think paid off. It was, about 1700 gold I didn't have elsewhere that I think I really needed in the form of like mass. But, it was fun to try them out. That's what it's all about. Spider Riders do charge in here, but they get broken. They broke right as I give them Fist of Gork to kill these guys. I was so bummed. I was like, no, Anakin, I'm too weak. They actually get away. Here we use another Effigy of the Get onto the Syrenes, which is nice. It does, of course, do magic damage. And I believe we have a Brain Buster coming up, but I don't think we'll need it. The Syrenes probably will be crumbling to Warzog. Warzog is immune to Psychology while his Frenzy's active. I don't know if it is always, but I'm pretty sure it's Frenzy dependent. So Bouncepire is getting more and more spooky favored here as we go into this battle. The Shade Wraith Gunners cause fear themselves, and of course my troops are very beat up. I'm not sure where those biggins were going. I should have kept them in combat, but he is able to salvage that situation as some Orc Airboys get back online. Start shooting here, and we do finish off the Syrenes, so they're all done for. So if we take a look at the Vampire Coast, they have some Syrenes over here. They have a bunch of zombies. It's mostly just chaff, with the exception of Solostra. But Solostra, like, if you really look at the battlefield, I feel like even if I had my whole army here, fighting Solostra would still be an uphill fight, like, even if he had nothing else. So it's still a very, very dire situation. Biggins here are going to be karate chopping. Shade Wraith Gunners shooting into my Orc Biggins as they charge in once again. And yeah, I don't know. They're probably not going to make it. The Discourage effect doing some serious work here. And another Tide Call coming in. King doing the fun spells here. The Tide Call is able to get the Forest Goblin Spider Riders pretty well, as the Shade Wraith Gunners shoot on top of that. So Tide Call does slow, which is, I think it's like a 50% slow. So he's been using it pretty well here. So we are able to get back. Warzog does temporarily distract these Zombie Power Deckhand mobs. We have the not Treb crews, but the Rock Lobber crews trying to do their thing as well. Most of the Greenskins on the edge of the map are breaking, and the Shade Wraith Gunners are shooting into Warzog and just putting a hurt on him. And even if they're not hitting everything, it does discourage him. And Solostra eventually gets the bread she seeks, and or the cake or whatever she prefers, and she is able to put those guys down. So that is going to be game there. There's nothing I can really do at this point. Solostra is too powerful to be left alive, and she is alive, or dead alive, or whatever you guys want to call it. And Warzog is a hog. He's trying his best, but he's not going to be able to pull it out. So very well played. It was a super fun game. Very, very fun. As far as the build goes, I think the Rock Lobbers were pretty bad. They did not pay for themselves. Maybe against like a gun line of Coast, they could surprise someone. I don't know. I mean, I guess, what do I shoot? Maybe I shoot Syrenes with them. I'm trying to think, or just like put them in Solostra the entire game. Maybe actually, because I thought killing the Shade Wraith Gunner, since they're low model count, low HP, they would die quick, but they didn't. I shot them the entire game, and that just did not work. I'm getting used to these weird artillery pieces like trebuchets and trying to figure out ways to make them work. But I think using them against Solostra would have been better, because like all that hammering HP, she probably would have been down to like almost death at that point had I shot her. And I should have made more of an effort to use my harass units to get the Shade Wraith Gunners instead of just relying on the Trebs to kill them, because they actually did a lot. But aside from that, Syrenes are really tough to handle for Greenskins, but I think Brainbusters and Fist of Gork are enough if you play well. But I didn't play super well in that respect. I tried, but my timings were a little bit poor, and King really capitalized on that. And also, I mean, we did nuke the Paladin, but yeah, it was a super fun game. So hopefully you guys enjoyed something unorthodox. King, of course, is really good at making these weird builds work, and is a very, very good player. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this Greenskin versus the Drowned showdown. And guys, we'll be back with more content soon. A lot of fun stuff on the horizon, so stay tuned. And we'll see you guys on the other side. Take care.